Good morning and welcome back. This is World Talks coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Salia Strzemska. And we start off by zooming in on Ukraine. Over the past week, we've witnessed significant developments, including the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting at NATO headquarters in Brussels and the visit of U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to Russia, where he spoke with Vladimir Putin. So where do we stand right now? And what can we anticipate moving forward? Perhaps most critically, how do the people of Ukraine feel about the unfolding events? To explore these vital questions, I have Oleksiy Goncharenko, Ukrainian MP from the European Solidarity Party, joining us right now. Good morning, sir. Delighted to have you with us.
Good morning.
So since, for the last number of months, we've been discussing the situation in Ukraine on a number of occasions. And I sort of wanted to start off by asking you, how do you feel about these recent developments, this trajectory that has been unfolding?
It's hard to say because it's hard to say on what trajectory we are. If to speak about the war continues. Putin doesn't want to end the war. The Russians attack. They don't have big gains, but still they have some. If we're speaking about attempt to achieve peace, which we hoped, and President Trump said that he would make peace in 24 hours and maybe in 100 days, but it doesn't look it will happen for the moment, at least now. And it is very bad because we need peace as soon as possible, but it should be real peace, not a surrender and not a short ceasefire. I don't know, we will see what will happen next. If Trump really wants peace, he needs to put a real pressure on Russia. If he will do this, there will be result, and there will be Putin at the negotiation table. If he will not do this, then nothing will happen. The war will continue, and I don't know.
Okay, so let's move on to Keith Kellogg and his somewhat controversial interview for the Times. Just to recap what Kellogg proposed, right? So the establishing of a reassurance force led by UK and France, of course, in Western Ukraine, then concentration of Ukrainian troops east of the Dnipro River, right? Dividing Ukraine into zones, no US support for the coalition of the willing, and, acknowledging right off the bat that there will be violations, most likely, right, of whatever the ceasefire agreement is. So what's your take on that? I mean, how do you view what Kellogg has said?
Kellogg already said that he was misinterpreted in the Material Times, that he didn't mean dividing of Ukraine, that he was speaking about forces on the ground. So if we're speaking about European boots on the ground, for example, French and British on the right bank of Dnipro River, I'm completely for this, and that's what we really need. And as soon as this contingent will arrive to Ukraine, better, not to fight with Russians. I understand that Brits, French, they're not ready to die fighting with Russians in Ukraine. But to show to Putin that he will not achieve his goals, to secure Ukrainian-Belarusian border, to secure this part of Ukraine, to organize training, and so on and so on. So many things to show presence, not to take part in hostilities, but to show presence. So if we're speaking about this is absolutely right, and that would be great. And sooner we will do this, it would be better. Ukrainian forces in this situation will in any way concentrate more on the left bank of Dnipro River, protecting the territory from Russians, from Russian possible attacks. So this here I don't see anything bad. Ukraine cannot be divided in sectors like it was Germany or Western Germany or Berlin, because Ukraine is not occupied. And these forces are not occupational forces. And these forces will be a contingent of allies. So it's absolutely different stories.
But I mean, he retracted some of his statements, but not all of them, right? I mean, things like the fact that there's no U.S. support for the coalition of the willing. I mean, this is staying in place, right? He also said that Europe has to prepare for the worst case scenario. And just, in this context, I mean, Pete Hegseth, right? He took part in the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting via a video link. It used to be hosted by the U.S. So what I'm getting at is, I mean, you have a series of developments that show that the U.S. is sort of withdrawing here, right? Shall we be worried, and how worried shall we be?
United States, it looks like United States are considering withdrawing not just from Ukraine and our war, but in general from Europe. Should we be worried? Definitely, because for decades, the United States gave a security to Europe. Will they continue to do this? That's a big question mark, and we don't know. But really, I think Andris Kubilius, defense commissioner, European Commissioner on Defense and Security, was absolutely right when he said that it's strange when 450 million Europeans are waiting that 340 million Americans will protect them against 140 million Russians who can't win over 38 Ukrainians. I think it's absolutely 38 million Ukrainians. That's absolutely right. Europe is big, is absolutely big enough to create its own strong military force, not to be so much dependent from the United States. And the fact that Europe still is so dependent is very frustrating and concerning, because means that Europe is still not ready to be a real player. And others see it, and Putin sees it, and that's why Putin is not afraid of Europe at all. He's afraid of only two countries, China and United States. And that is a big, big mistake from Europe. I hope that all recent developments will lead that Europe will change its mind finally, and will do what Europe can and should do to be one of the strongest military players in the world.
I think that it's safe to say that Europe is trying to make up for the lost time with programs such as Rearm Europe, for instance, right? And most recently, European countries pledged 21 billion euro in new military aid, right, for Ukraine. And I wanted to ask you, how significant is this support? Because for someone on the outside, right, it's quite difficult to gauge the impact of these funds, the potential impact. And of course, the time frame is also something that matters. So can you tell us how significant it is? What is the time frame on this? And sort of what's the Ukraine's take on this?
Time frame is really important. That's why all these Rearm Europe and all other initiatives, I can't understand why they were not at place 3 years ago. I'm not saying 10 years ago, but really Russia started the war even 11 years ago. But 3 years ago, after the start of full-scale invasion, there were no such programs. And it's a pity. Speaking about 21 billion euros, we're very thankful for all support Ukraine is receiving. But as I know from this sum, mostly it's a long-term commitment. It's not something which will arrive tomorrow. And Ukraine is fighting right here, right now. So it's good, and again, very thankful. But we need more, and we need quicker. One more thing which I can't understand, why, for example, Europe is not concentrating air defense on Polish-Ukrainian, Romanian-Ukrainian border. Because what we saw is Russian missiles falling on Polish soil, or Russian drones falling on Romanian soil. And I remember how a year ago, Polish defense minister came and said, Russian missile entered our airspace. But it was just 39 seconds, and he said, and then it came back. And during these 39 seconds, it was not intercepted. That's exactly what emboldens Putin, that shows weakness. So we need to make much more decisive steps, and we need to be much more courageous if we really want to prevent the war. In other case, soon, European countries will need to fight on their own territories with the Russians.
And following this recent tragedy in Kryvyi Rih, Volodymyr Zelensky also asked for more support for 10 more Patriot systems, right, to be delivered. How likely do you think it is that this will happen?
That would be great. The question is that it should be bought because the United States are not ready to send us weapons free of charge anymore. Trump is absolutely clear about this. So if to buy it, the question is who will finance this? And here is one more question about Russian frozen assets. Mostly this money are in Europe. And why they are still not seized? We would have this money, we can buy American weapons or other weapons, we can develop European military production. We can do a lot having this money, but we don't have them still because they are just frozen, not seized. And it's one more thing which should be done as quickly as possible.
Oleksiy, before we go, one more question. Witkoff-Putin meeting, what are the key takeaways from this, from your perspective?
Trump continues to try to achieve peace, and that's good. I don't see anything bad in the fact that Witkoff came to Russia and spoke with Putin. The question is, what is the result? And for the moment, I don't see results. That's bad. I think Trump finally realized that the main obstacle to peace is Putin. We knew it from the beginning, but it looks like President Trump was not sure about this. Oh, they thought from a normal point of view, why do you need a war about economics? But Putin doesn't care about economics. Putin doesn't care about people. He is completely different. It's completely different story. Crazy revanchism, imperialism. Now Trump realizes it. And the question is, what Trump will do with this.
Oleksiy Goncharenko, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you. Have a good day. And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TV.